Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for another video. In this episode of New DMs 101, I wanted to do something a little bit different. Instead of highlighting the DM and what it's like to be a DM and what it takes, I wanted to switch gears and ironically talk about the players. With me I have Ashley, my wife, and she's also the player that has been playing as long as I've been DMing. So I felt like this would be a really good opportunity to introduce you guys to her. You're going to be seeing her in other videos that I make, so what better time than now to introduce her to you guys. So Ash, I just wanted to ask you, what is it like to be a player, like a Dungeons and Dragons player? What does it mean to you? Why do you do it? Why do you enjoy it? And you just tell the guys a little bit about you.
Hi, well, my name is Ashley. I started D&D probably about, 5 years ago, I believe?
Like that,
about
yeah.
5 years ago. My DM happened to be one of our personal best friends, and we actually did a campaign for about a year. No, almost 2 years.
Yeah, it was about two and a half years.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it was that long. It was almost for 2 years. We did one campaign. Now, in between, I've done little one-shots. I've done pretty much everything you could possibly think of as far as D&D goes. I think the only thing I haven't done was battle, what's her name? The dragon? The big dragon?
Oh,
Dragons.
facing Tiamat. That was one of
Tiamat,
the
yeah.
one of the modules that I was gonna run. As soon as the minis were released, I was like, oh my god, I need to do something with Bahamut and Tiamat.
Other than that, I've done most of the D&D stuff. My favorite actual character to play is a druid. Had a druid for a long time. That was the one I did my 2-year long run with. Why I ended up liking D&D and how much I enjoyed D&D, a lot of it has to do with me loving fantasy stories. All I've read, especially growing up, were like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. I always grew up with stories like that, and that was always something that I really enjoyed. And once I found out that, oh, hey, you can play a game and you could be the character in it, you could be the main story in it, heck yeah, I'm definitely down. I loved being able to do that. Like One Shoe, for instance, was one of the characters that we played with.
He was basically a halfling, or no, a gnome, and his name was One Shoe, and he was like the comedic relief of the party. He definitely was the person who was always joking around, always trying to get more gold and more resources, while the rest of us were trying to be honest and virtuous. He was trying to swindle, and he was definitely the scoundrel of the crew. So I wanted to ask you a couple things, like what do you think is the most important thing about being a player for a role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game? What do you think you have to know going into it? What has helped you become a better player, quote unquote? I know it's not a competitive game, so you do become more well-versed and stuff, but what do you think, what are some tips and tricks that'll help a person who hasn't played Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of role-playing game? What are some things that can help a new tabletop player not be so nervous or be so intimidated by joining the world of role-playing games?
I know when I first started, I wasn't sure if I needed to do all of the, I don't want to say acting, but I'm trying to think of the right word for it.
The role-playing
part. So the role-playing part was always something that I felt was kind of weird at first. Like it was kind of unnatural because you're basically acting, but you're not in front of a camera, or most of the time you're not in front of a camera. You're doing it for yourself, and you're playing this character that some people get really into it. They have like a special voice that they use whenever they're playing their character. They have special minis and things that they use for their character. I know I personally had a bunch of minis that I used for mine.
People dress up too, right?
Yeah, people dress up and everything too. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually do have pretty much my character in D&D form down to the ears. Because
Yeah.
I was a half elf, so down to the ears I have all of that pretty much. I may dress up like that at some point and show you guys. Yeah, that part of it was always something that really intimidated me when I first started. Since I've gotten into it, and especially when you do it around people that you're with all the time, you loosen up the more that you play. I think that's the main thing. Just repetition is the thing, and just realizing that the whole point of it is to have fun. And if you're not having fun, it's probably not D&D.
Do you think it should be friends? Do you think it's better off if you know the people outside of D&D as opposed to just putting an ad on the internet and saying I need new players for a 5th edition campaign?
As far as the role-playing part, I think it's easier if you're around people that you already know, because they already know your personality, already know who you are personally. I personally played a character was very serious and very opposite of how I normally am. And it was fun for me because I was trying to act aloof and, you know, just prestigious and, you know, just standoffish. And I knew that I could act that way, and the other people of my group weren't like, dude, what's wrong with her today? Like, is she okay? Like do we need to give her a hug? Like, it just kind of depends on the crowd. Now, sometimes playing with people that you don't know can be fun as well. I know I personally have had one such experience. I didn't know any of the people that were in it except for one person. That was the DM. He was like, listen, we're gonna have a great time, you know. And the cool part about it was that in the beginning, everybody was still kind of anxious because we weren't really sure what to say to each other, what to do. We weren't, you know, everybody was a little nervous about it. But once we got, you know, deep into the story, we were all just gung-ho, like super excited. So it was great to see that change from the beginning where we were like really just people that have just met and people that have grown together through this experience. I know I personally like to play with people that I know, but I can definitely see the good side to both.
That's awesome. Yeah, because there's always a balance. There's a balance with everything, you know. The advantages of playing with people that you know take the edge off of, you know, the awkwardness of the fact that you're basically all actors when you're playing in games like this. You know, that could be something that if the group is strangers to you, you may not feel as embarrassed role playing your character, putting on an accent like, you know, in my acts, you know, I can talk more like a dwarf if the people aren't going to judge me because they know nothing of my background. But then again, you play with your coworkers or your friends and they're like, you're nothing like this in real life. So it's kind of, there's goods and bad with everything. And just like you said, the repetition, getting out there, playing with your friends, and just realizing that it's basically what you make of it. It's a blank sheet of paper with a pencil and a couple of dice. That's all the game is. The rest of it is on you. You put into it what you get out of it. And it's just awesome that you and I started playing around the same time. I didn't know what D&D was. I've heard of it growing up, but didn't really play it until after I was much older. Definitely waiting for this whole COVID thing to die out so that we can get our group of friends and play again. Get out there and, you know, kill some dragons and whatnot. So I've been DMing as long as she's been playing, and I thought it'd be a really cool video to talk to you guys about what it's like to be a DM and what it's like to be a player and the differences about it, and just to introduce Ash to you guys because she's gonna be in more videos. We did another My Friend Finally Watches and Ash was in there, so wanted you guys to know who she was and not be like, who's this strange person? She watched the movie with us and she had a good time, so I wanted to make sure you guys knew who she was before I went ahead and uploaded that video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing, give it a thumbs up, it'll help me out a lot. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.